Subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so you never miss any update. It's easy to blame it on Mars because we've been sending landers and rovers there for some years now. Those who have seen the beauty of the red planet have been greatly impressed. In the past 50 years, we humans have sent spacecraft to 6 planets, moons, asteroids, and comets. Those who have successfully landed there before, including Venus, Titan, asteroids, and comets. Among all these planets and comet landings, the most challenging has been to land any spacecraft on Mars. Of all the spacecraft we have sent to Mars till today, only 40% have successfully landed on the surface of Mars. But why? From a distance, Mars seems absolutely hospitable. For landing, the atmosphere of Mars is 100 times thinner than our Earth's. And because its atmosphere is so thin, parachutes are used for landing here. The effect of the parachute decreases. On Mars, the parachute is 10 times less effective in the gravity of Earth, which also greatly increases the pressure on any spacecraft trying to land on Mars. If the Martian atmosphere is so thin and dangerous, how did the InSight mission manage to land there? As easy as it may seem, it is also a daunting task for scientists. Hello friends, you are watching Documentary Library and I am your friend Shashi. In today's episode, we will find out how the Mars InSight spacecraft landed on Mars. Although the spacecraft had landed on Mars before, landing a new spacecraft on Mars presented new challenges. Scientists call the journey from Mars' atmosphere to its surface entry, descent, and landing, or entry, descent, and landing, which are just 3 words. But there are hundreds of steps involved in this entry, descent, and landing for a perfect landing. And each of these hundreds of steps had to work exactly right. Just like National Aeronautics and Space Administration, as InSight mission ended just as InSight arrived in the atmosphere of Mars. The process of entry, descent, and landing begins right then and there. Before entering the atmosphere, InSight's cruise stage, which has solar panels, is separated from its side, and there it lands on the surface of Mars, so that InSight can communicate with scientists on Earth during its journey to Mars. In the first 7 minutes of entering the atmosphere of Mars, InSight separates its cruise stage from its body, because its job was only up to this point. From here, InSight's most dangerous and critical work begins. First, InSight spacecraft has to penetrate the atmosphere. It could burn up in the Martian atmosphere alone. InSight's heat shield was designed to withstand velocities of 13,000 miles per hour upon entering the Martian atmosphere. This was to protect the spacecraft from temperatures of 1000 degrees Celsius during its journey. During this time, it was also necessary to ensure that InSight was properly oriented at an angle of 12 degrees to collide with the Martian atmosphere. If its movement deviated even slightly from the 12-degree angle, it would have been disastrous. No one knew whether the InSight mission would fail or not. All these processes had to be done with absolute precision. The entry of InSight into the Martian atmosphere was indeed a daunting task. As I mentioned, the temperature of the heat shield reached up to 1000 degrees Celsius and it had to withstand even higher temperatures. The science instruments on InSight can easily get damaged, but managing the heat on InSight is also a challenge. Due to this resistance force, InSight's speed drops from 13,000 miles per hour to about 10,000 miles per hour, and that too in just under 2 minutes. At about 10 miles above the surface of Mars, the parachutes in InSight system are deployed. 15 seconds after the parachute opens, the heat shield is separated from InSight, which allows the InSight lander to approach the surface of Mars. 10 seconds after the heat shield is separated, InSight's 3 pyrotechnic legs are deployed, which will absorb the impact when InSight lands. 1 minute after the deployment of the legs, the landing radar is turned on, which measures the distance to the surface of Mars, from which InSight can determine how high it is above the surface and what its final speed is. Almost a mile above the surface of Mars, the InSight lander separates from the back shell and descends on a parachute. At the same time, it has to turn on its engine, and then it also had to make sure that the InSight was aware that it was off its directed path. If not, then after landing, the separate parachutes and heat shields would fall, which would fail the mission. And then, just like InSight landed on Mars, it had to shut off its engines at the very last moment. Otherwise, the upward thrust generated by the engines would cause InSight to bounce and the mission would end there. Friends, we are talking about seconds and minutes here. If there was even a second's delay in one process, InSight would not have landed on Mars today. Well, it is due to the 100% accurate execution of all these processes that InSight is standing on Mars today. Knowing the full extent of our addiction and the damage it does, friends, you should also understand your addiction first before trying to control it, so that you can watch such videos. Don't forget to like and share the video. Keep in mind that you should subscribe to the channel in a second, otherwise you will miss the mission. Friends, meet in another new informative episode.